To begin with, because we've been speaking about hyperpolarization, but how would you define what hyperpolarization is?
Hyperpolarization is when parties can't really hear each other and they demonize each other. And there's a kind of we, they, where anyone on the other side of an issue is considered an enemy. And you don't even listen to what the other side has to say. In democracies, not only in Argentina, but here in the United States, hyperpolarization means, especially with two-party systems, we can't even vote on things in any way in which parties can meet across the side and to compromise. So everyone always votes with the people that they agree with, and they can't hear the other side. And so it's an issue in places that have majority vote requirements, because if there's hyperpolarization and you can never talk to the people on the other side, you can't reach enough votes for a majority. And so it's not just hyperpolarization and not listening to each other. There's no compromise that's possible, and it makes even simple voting very difficult.
Okay. And we started out with the example in politics, but that also takes you to the more the affective side, the social side. I mean, it crosses us in every type of situation in our everyday living.
Exactly. So recently in the United States, during the Trump era, we had many newspaper articles and people like me being asked to advise people how even to celebrate holidays together with families, because hyperpolarization affected families. People couldn't even discuss anything at the dinner table because people have very different views about economics and about religion and about politics and and issues like feminism and women's rights and immigration. And for us, it's not a problem for you, I don't think, in Argentina, but for us, gun control. And we couldn't even...
It's starting to become a
Uh-huh.
problem in itself. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Also.
So you're absolutely right. It's both at the political level and at the neighborhood level and the community level. People can't even talk to each other. And of course, for us, we saw the hyperpolarization, sadly, during COVID, because getting a vaccine or wearing a mask became polarized. If you believed in public health and science, you wore a mask and you got a vaccine. If you believed in total freedom and didn't believe in the vaccine, so people would not even look at each other on the street.
There's no doubt that we're living throughout our democracies are living throughout an hyperpolarization problem. Why? What do you think it's the nature of it?
Part of it is the structure of the electoral process. And the other problem, I think, is in general, throughout the world at the moment, there's a lot of bitterness toward people that have been successful. And so the people who have less economic success are angry. And so they are susceptible, to what we call demagogues. And you've had that too, people that appeal to people and they want to blame somebody. So it becomes a scapegoating culture.
So we're becoming more and more tribal, and we tend to listen to those who we agree with and tend to escape other views.
Here's a phrase that in my field of conflict resolution we use a lot. We have two ears and one mouth. So part of this is we need to take in more information. We have to listen to what other people need, what other people want, what the experts are proposing, and learn to, this is hard for politicians too, to speak less until we take in more information. It's hard. In the old days, we all had many more newspapers, we had more TV channels to watch, so we actually took in more information. And ironically, with social media, I think we're actually getting less information. And so, I would say to you, I've advised the American government on both domestic and international issues. The key is getting groups of people to sit and talk that have different views. It's very important to try to bring together, commissions around particular issues. So let's try to fix or talk about this particular problem, and not make everything a global agreement or a global disagreement. Let's focus on one thing.
Picking up an issue, getting people that tend to think different, but see if we can reach certain agreements on certain issues.
Exactly. This is a sad version of that, but for all the polarization and difficulties we have, in the United States, we do relatively well, when there's a natural disaster. In California, we have fires, and then in parts of the country, we have hurricanes and rain. And when there's a disaster, people come together across their political differences to try to help each other. And so that's one of the things I've been working on. How can we try, when there's a moment of coming together, to work on, saving people from fires, or we've just had a lot of flooding, believe it or not, California, all of a sudden, a huge amount of rain, and people are coming together to rebuild. And so you try to make friendships and alliances and get new ideas for how to do things together. And that's the hopefulness that's the
things that are kind of out of our reach tend to get us together more than what we can handle.
Very nicely put. Working on things out of our reach and trying to get a handle on them. Very well. Good.
Good. And what do we do with the what are the irreconcilable differences, those that are rooted way deep inside ourselves?
It's a wonderful, wonderful question, Minister. So two thoughts. In the United States, as you know, because we're having it again, and I know you did too in Argentina, our big disputes right now are on abortion. Our Supreme Court just said that it's permissible for our states to make it illegal. So what has happened is that some groups come together, actually through churches sometimes, to talk about, even if we have totally different values, how can we work on some concrete issues together? So we had meetings here when there were conflicts around abortion, of creating some rules for people not creating violence around doctors' offices and abortion clinics. So people could differ on right to life and right to abortion by making rules about making safe spaces for people to go to doctors and at least have consultation. At the same time, giving out some concrete information on adoption for people who are going to have children. So again, concrete steps without, so we agree to disagree. We have different values, but we can agree on some incremental issues in between. And an interesting thing I do in conflict resolution work is I ask people, talk about some time when you changed your mind about something. What caused you to change your mind? Was it facts? Was it science? Was it information? Or was it a friendship? Someone who you disagreed with before, but because when you learned their experience, you changed your mind? So these are bridging things.
Yeah, and I would also use I tend to use as an example, do you exactly think the same things that you used to think 20 years ago, or have you changed your mind on some issues? I mean, are you exactly the same? There's values for sure, probably, that haven't changed. Now, do you do the same thing? Do you think exactly the same way?
Perfect. I love that. That's terrific. We could work together. I like that's the time.
We can.
Absolutely. So you wouldn't be surprised to hear when I was younger, I was a radical student. I was out in the streets arguing about things, and then I became a mediator. And now I'm older and wiser, and I know that change doesn't come that quickly, and being in the streets all the time is not the best way to do it. So getting older and wiser really helps.
What can we as government do to reduce tensions in between citizens? Because there's all this political tension or this hyperpolarization being held by ourselves as politicians, but all that has an effect on an everyday basis. How can we as government, or what should or what can we do as government to help reduce tensions in between citizens?
Great question. Well, it's hard to do, but what I love about Argentina is cafe society. Having a cortado and trying to encourage people seriously to sit and listen to each other.
I'm having one right now, so.
Oh, send it to me. So encouraging, I would say, this is a dream I would have all the cafes have speaking events, community meetings, in which people come and share a cortado, but there are rules for talking. One person talks at a time, and somebody, you need an expert facilitator. You need someone to help direct a good community meeting, and you can do it in churches. You can do it in cafes. I mean, the weather was good in Argentina. In the parks outside, it would be really interesting for the government to sponsor calm discussions about particular issues.
As individuals, as part of a family, of a group of friends, what can we do? Because, like you said, in Argentina happens the same. We're having trouble bringing friends together on a birthday party. Christmas comes, and we know we're going to face a fight, a political fight, an issue fight regarding certain. What can we do regarding our everyday basis as citizens, as friends, as family members?
Well, one thing you already suggested, that one of the most common forms of conflict resolution is avoidance. You could have a family gathering and everyone agrees we're going to enjoy the birthday, we're going to enjoy the event, and everybody agrees no politics, no religion. Let's just have a good time. So that builds some, goodwill. Let's have some empanadas and vino and just be together.
Well, the problem is, as soon as you start having vino or beer, that pact tends to last less time. But setting some basic standards of what not to speak of.
Right. So then you have to have someone like an abuela or somebody who said, nope, can't do that.
Nope.
So that's one thing you could do. The other thing you could do is, okay, we're going to have a nice fiesta for a long time. So everyone can say what they think for 1 hour or 2 hours. But after that, now it's only for you. So you, instead of total avoidance, you say, let's just get it all out or leave it for the end. And the rest of the time, we're just going to enjoy each other.
Okay. Well, for me, it's been a very interesting conversation, Carrie. Like I've learned, I take some ideas that you've introduced into this conversation. I think we have a tough times are coming in Argentina. It won't be easy, and we have to deal with an overall situation that it's difficult in itself worldwide. But the economic crisis in Argentina tends to make everything more dramatic. There's a lot of anxiety, very little time, that need of blame that you described before, that we all tend to have. I mean, we need to blame someone for what we're suffering and going through. It's out there. But on the other hand, I think that each one of us who's blessed with the chance to have an effect and our opinion is listened by many people, we have to make a difference. At least we have to try. I don't know if we will be able to change things, but it's worth trying it.
Buena suerte.
Gracias. Thanks a lot. And thanks for sharing your time and knowledge with us. Thanks. And we will have a cafe as soon as you get back to Buenos Aires.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Muchas gracias.